And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Katie Greifeld, taking you through to that closing bell with the global simulcast. We're joined right now by Carol Massar in the radio booth, Tim Stenovec by her side. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms here on this Monday afternoon with stocks right now near session highs.
I just want to know where all of you guys were this weekend, because as Tim pointed out, he wanted to know where I was this weekend. I was not in Paris. Were any of you in Paris?
No.
Because of the big hikes?
I mean, I don't know where Romaine was, but I certainly wasn't.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
One of these two showing up wearing the jewels?
God, there was a gorgeous emerald necklace, right, that was stolen?
Can you imagine?
The story's amazing.
It is. It's crazy. 7 minutes. You can do anything in that amount of time.
All right, but speaking of markets, I'll go back there, but I think it's an amazing story. Romaine hasn't said anything, so I'm a little suspicious. Anyway, I was thinking of you, Romaine.
The first rule of Jewel Heist Club is don't talk about the Jewel Heist Club.
Small caps, outperformance. I mean, the whole market's up, but small caps are up almost 2% in today's.
Okay, that's today's trade. What happens when we hear from all these companies? We're going to hear from a lot of car companies this week. We'll hear from General Motors and Ford. We'll hear from Texas Instruments. We'll, of course, get Netflix, an update from Netflix. So does the tone change after today?
How about Zions in just a couple
That's going to happen very soon.
I'm very excited for that and to hear, of course, what the C-suite has to say.
We should point out that earnings expectations pretty much across the board have actually crept up over the last few weeks. In fact, when you look at some of the earnings revisions to the upside, some would say this is actually probably one of the strongest upcycle revisions that we've had in several years. So the bar being raised just a little bit here. So it'll be interesting to see whether the companies can actually meet that bar. So far, the beats that we've seen in this relatively short earnings season have certainly been encouraging. You're taking a look there at a NASDAQ composite up more than 300 points on the day. I believe that is going to be enough potentially for a record high. Let me just double check that. Up 300 points or about 1.4% on the day. The S&P up 71 points or 1% on the day, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average adding more than 500 points or 1.1%. And the Russell 2000 not just getting in on the action, but actually leading it. 48-point upswing for the Russell 2000, up 1.9%.
Yeah, some nice outperformance. Back to the big caps I go. And folks, this rally today, pretty broad-based. Katie, we got 414 names in the S&P 500 higher in today's session, 85 to the downside, 4 unchanged.
Well, the circle broadly says the same thing when you take a look at the sectors. 9 finishing in the green, just 2 in the red. Communication services, materials, industrials, those are some of your biggest winners today. Then you take a look at what didn't do too hot, consumer staples, utilities. Those are typically defensive sectors. So to see them down just a little bit here really speaks to just how risk on this Monday was.
All right, guys, with all that green, lots to choose from.
And I just want to point out, sorry, too, just to be clear here, the NASDAQ 100 did close at a record high, but not the composite.
Okay, good to know, good to know. Hey, having said that, a good reason why we saw that composite moving up on this Monday, Apple shares finishing off their highs of this session, but still with a gain of just shy of 4%, hitting their first record of 2025 after Loop Capital upgraded the stock to buy from hold, becoming the latest firm to cite positive iPhone demands. We did have reporting out on the terminal about Apple's latest generation of iPhones. We're talking about the iPhone 17 series, off to a faster start than usual with its most basic model surging in popularity. So, man, that was certainly a lot of momentum in today's trade. Got to mention Cleveland Cliffs. That stock up just about 21.5% today after the company posted stronger than expected earnings and disclosed a pact with another metal producer. The company said it discovered 2 sites with potential to produce rare earth minerals, one in Michigan, another in Minnesota, and is evaluating whether rare earth minerals can be extracted from those mines. So, again, that trade, that play, we continue to see that having momentum here in 2025. Got to mention Zions. We are waiting that company to report earnings, that regional bank. Stock up 4.6% in today's session, higher after a wild week last week on concerns about credit. The stock, as we mentioned, higher today, 2-day gain of about 9% in today's session after dropping 5% last week, but we'll wait for an update on its business as it gets ready to report in any moment. And just honorable mention, those rare earth and critical mineral stocks on the move, U.S. Antimony among them. This after William Blair came out and talked about these companies initiating the companies that an outperform. I just had to mention, because we talked to U.S. Antimony today, the CEO. That stock was up 19% in today's session.
That is a big move higher, especially for that company that's, what is it, more than doubled so far this year.
Yeah, like 400%. Isn't it like 500%?
It's pretty incredible. Hey, some of the stocks in the red, not too many, but a couple prominent ones. I want to start with Oracle, down 4.9%. Shares fell for a second day in a row. They fell close to 7% on Friday, down another close to 5% today. Still up, though, more than 66% so far this year. No real catalyst for this move, but again, still up more than 66% so far this year and among the worst performers in the S&P 500 today. The worst performer in the S&P 500, though, was AppLovin, down 5.6%. Shares fell after the New York Post reported that state regulators have reached out to multiple short sellers in a possible preliminary probe for the mobile advertising company. The states include Delaware, Oregon, and Connecticut. The report comes after news earlier this month that the SEC has been probing AppLovin's data collection practices. And finally, ADRs of BNP Paribas closed down 9% today. A jury found that BNP Paribas was liable for its role in enabling genocide in Sudan, awarding about $21 million to 3 plaintiffs. That verdict triggering speculation that the firm will have to agree to expensive settlements, with one analyst estimating a possible settlement of as much as $10 billion. Shares in France fell close to 8%. The verdict, though, is, quote, specific to these 3 plaintiffs, and any attempt to extrapolate is necessarily wrong, as any speculation regarding a potential settlement is, the bank in part said in a statement.
All right, let's take a quick look at yields. We did actually see prices across the board higher, with most of the activity on the longer end of the curve. That pushed your 30-year yield down by about 3 to 4 basis points. Similar move today for the 20-year, your 10-year yield now at 3.98, down about 3 basis points, guys, from where it was on Friday.
All right, good stuff. As we await Zion's Bancorp earnings to cross the Bloomberg terminal, a couple stories on our radar. One that caught our attention. This has to do with women-focused resorts are becoming kind of the next big wellness trend. We've talked about it a lot here on our air about the lack of R&D and attention spent to women's health. Well, Canyon Ranch is getting ready to unveil its 3rd location, and basically they're going to focus big time on women's wellness, Tim.
Yeah, this is a 600-acre ranch. It's close to Austin, Texas. The wellness industry, though, has historically underserved women. Only 5% of global R&D funding allocated to women's health research back in 2020. But now these companies are really seeing an opportunity for that, and they're coming out with these targeted retreats focusing on women and focusing on attracting women to these places.
I love Canyons Ranch. I went there with my mom and my aunt when I was like a preteen, which was a weird vacation.
Which one did you go to?
We went to the one on the East Coast. I
Okay.
feel like it's like upstate somewhere.
Berkshires, like outside the Berkshires?
That sounds about right. It was great. That's all I have to add.
Well, I think the majority of people who go to them are women already.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to broaden their appeal, or not even broaden their appeal, but focus on that demographic.
And dig deeper, I feel like,
Yeah.
into kind of serious health issues for women as they get older and so on, or different stages of their life.
Well, speaking of wellness, another story that I was keeping an eye on was kind of the waning interest that we've seen in a lot of sort of wellness products, particularly in the food space, particularly when it comes to these alternative milks, if you will. Remember, it was all the rage. You get your nut milk, your oat milk, and all these things. Well, CEO of Oatly gave an interview to the Financial Times and talked a lot about just the drop that he's seen in demand, and said a lot of this he's blaming, at least, on the lack of discussion about climate change and other things that I guess helped to sort of create this industry in the first place.
I thought that, I mean, at least when it came to almond milk, they got a lot of bad press for just how water intensive almonds were. Oat, maybe a different story there, but I don't know, it does just feel like one of those fads that we've put behind us. But if you're the CEO of one of these companies that soared so much when this was in the zeitgeist, I could see definitely being in the hurt locker right now.
On record? Sorry.
There we go.
So people are fed up with climate talk? Is that it? And so there's a pushback?
Well, I think the idea is that we're
oat
not
milk, is
putting
that
as
it?
much. The idea is we're not putting as much focus on it, like the royal we, and that means that I guess one of the main selling points of a lot of this, obviously, it wasn't just nutrition, but it was the idea that somehow what we were drinking was better for the environment. Whether that was true or not, who knows? But that was the argument.
Just anecdotally speaking, I mean, I kind of tried all this stuff back in early 2020s.
Yeah.
The Beyond Meats and the
me too.
Impossible.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people were like, wait a second, this is kind of moving away from single ingredient things,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
it's processed in a way that they don't necessarily want.
Well, that was a big thing for me, Tim. I mean, it was like, as you started to look at the ingredients and some of this stuff, you're like,
Yeah.
well, how is this actually better for me than just, I don't know, eating a salad or something, like you said, a little bit purer. So, it's a trade-off.
I will say the one thing I appreciate about these milks is that, at least as far as I understand, you don't have to refrigerate them. So that is cool. But
Don't take that advice, right?
Yeah, you don't have to refrigerate a cow either. They just live outside, Katie.
True, but you should refrigerate cow milk. I don't know. I don't
This is
drink a
why
lot
we
of
should
milk,
just
so.
drink tequila. Okay, let's just put it out there.